Coming up today here on the Raiders Report, I'm going to be looking at some surprise cut candidates after OTAs. I'm Mitchell Renz, host of the Raiders Report, and for those that do not know, mandatory minicamp for the Silver and Black begins June 10th, and right now the Raiders have 91 players on their roster, so typically, if the Raiders wanted to add a player, they would have to move on from somebody. So what's really important about this show is surprise. It would be a surprise if the Raiders cut any of the players that I am about to mention before the start of mandatory minicamp. So please keep that in mind. For those that do not know, I do get married this week, and if you don't know, I need you to hit that subscribe button because if you didn't get me anything, I've been asked multiple times this week, and believe me when I tell you this, greatly appreciate everybody that wants to support me, support my fiance Alex, and our future together. But I mean this, if you didn't get me anything, the number one thing you get me is hitting that big old red button that says subscribe. So again, very, very important to note here that these are surprise cut candidates, meaning that if any of these players got cut right now, it would be a surprise. And I'm not talking about cut the entire offseason. We'll talk about 53-man rosters a little bit closer we get to August. I am simply saying if the Raiders announce in this upcoming week that one of these 6 players ended up getting cut, you would go, all right, that does surprise me. Let's go to the first name on here, and I'm going to throw out Darnay Holmes, who if he were to be cut after June 1st, it would save $1.03 million, the entire contract for him. I'll also say the reason why I put him on here is because the Raiders this offseason, when they've been going with a lot of nickel packages, they've been using 2 safeties, Eric Stokes, Darian Porter. They're still kind of waiting, Jacorian to get his ball rolling here a little bit. But they haven't really been using Darnay Holmes as the starter. They've been using other safeties. And guys like Lonnie Johnson, players I think even like Harper, have stepped up and are being used above somebody like Holmes, because I think at the beginning of the offseason, a lot of us would have sat up here and said, shit, like he might be our starter. I don't think that there's any way in hell that he's going to be a starter here for the Las Vegas Raiders, and I do think that he's good depth. However, though, if the Raiders want to stick to their long, lanky, athletic cornerbacks like Pete Carroll likes, that's just simply not what Darnay Holmes is. And for a player that, some of us thought could actually be a starter on this team, based on what we have at nickel, I'm just going to throw him in here as a surprise cut candidate. Let's go to another name here, safety Trey Taylor. And if the Raiders ended up moving on from him, you only eat $39K. You save, though, $960. Lonnie Johnson and Thomas Harper also are ahead of Trey Taylor right now at the moment, and they're using those 2 players a lot more just based on certain coverages. Does Taylor still have an opportunity to play special teams? Yes, he absolutely does. But for somebody that won the Jim Thorpe Award, which is the best DB in college football in 2023, 7th-round pick by the old regime, you're kind of sitting here going, well, where exactly does he fit into the equation? The Raiders signed Jeremy Chin. They re-signed Isaiah Paul-Amal. They signed Lonnie Johnson Jr., right? Like, I don't know exactly how much Trey Taylor and how much working experience he's going to get. But then also you just got to consider how are you going to use him on special teams. And, the linebacker room, very, very unknown. The safety room, it's very, very unknown. And Trey Taylor is a outstanding human being. I do want to put that very, very clear. Outstanding human being. But I also do wonder if other teams would potentially be interested in Taylor. And if the Raiders know that they're not going to keep him, this is one of those players that you do right by because of how good of a human being he is. We'll leave it like that. Again, it is wedding week for me. I get married this Friday, June 6th. I'll be back June 10th. If you want to stay up to date on all things going on with my family, Alex's family, if you want to see some wedding photos, some videos, give me a follow on Instagram at Mitchell Renz 365. And if any breaking news ends up happening this week, my guy Jeremy Chuggs, he's got you covered. So make sure you give him a follow on social media at Jeremy Chuggs. Before I get into some more of these surprise cut candidates, I don't want it to be a surprise and I'm cut. So, are you married? If yes, how many years have you been married? Please let me know down below. And for everybody that's got some of these answers that are in the 5, 10, 15 above, just give me some good advice. That's all I'm looking for. Some good marriage advice. Let's go to another play here that I think could be a surprise cut candidate after OTAs. Wide receiver Colin Johnson. So when the Raiders signed him earlier this offseason, I did a video saying that he's the tallest receiver in the NFL at 6'6", Apparently, he's not the tallest, but he is in the top 5, right? But we also heard this right after all the rumors around Pete Carroll, Steve Sarkisian, some of those Texas overlaps, if you will. Now, I will say this. Colin Johnson actually never played college football with Sarkisian, so just throw that one out there. But there is some Texas overlap. The only reason why I'm going to throw him up here is this. The Raiders rookies have been impressing. Hell, even Trey Tucker. There's been a lot of other players that have been impressing. If there's been one receiver where legitimately, me personally, I haven't got any information on, it's Colin Johnson. So if I'm not getting information on somebody, that is a little bit of a concern. And when you go through and you look at depth charts, when you go through and watch other content creators around the web, I think people have a lot higher expectation for Colin Johnson than what I think actually the Raiders might have on tap for him. He hasn't been somebody that's really contributed all that much the past few seasons. Again, very tall player, good red zone option, brings some of that athletic ability and the length with what Pete Carroll likes to have. But at the end of the day, if I'm not hearing anything about him and I'm hearing everything about all these other young rookies, I'm going to say that Colin Johnson could be a surprise cut candidate. We got more names coming up here in just a moment, but a huge, huge shout out to our sponsor, PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. And if you do not know, the basketball playoffs are wrapping up, but the action is still heating up on PrizePicks, the best place to cash in on your favorite sports. Think Shea will get more than 33.5 points? Tyrese Halliburton for more than 17.5 points? Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this basketball season when you and your crew run your game on PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best way to win real money this basketball season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports takes into real money all season long on PrizePicks. On PrizePicks, you can mix and match player projections from different sports. Combine your favorite baseball players with players from basketball, hockey, esports, and much more. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and much more for quick and easy deposits into your account this sports season. If you're wondering, Mitch, what are you guys rolling with at Chat Sports? I'll be real, not a basketball guy, but Chat Sports basketball crew, they put together a nice little PrizePicks lineup here. Miles Turner more, Tyrese Halliburton less, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander more. If you want to roll with that lineup, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Let's go to another here surprise cut candidate after OTAs, wide receiver Kyle Phillips. And $1.03 million if the Raiders decide to move on from him. The reason why I'm bringing up Phillips is because Phillips is kind of like this sneaky player that gets discussed a lot around the Raiders just because he was Chip Kelly's very first recruit. And when you go back and you look at a lot of the moves that the Raiders made this offseason, literally like the first move they did when they hired Chip Kelly was go out and they signed Kyle Phillips. So to me, I go, all right, relationships, connections, they really matter to this organization. So therefore, I put Kyle Phillips, just a little bit higher up on my board. But because Tommy Milot's been showing out, because the young rookies have been showing out, I just don't know exactly where Phillips is going to fit necessarily. And Jack Besh has been a stud. Like, if it was up to me, who am I putting on a field? I'm going to put Tommy Milot, Dante Thornton Jr. on the field over somebody like Kyle Phillips, somebody who didn't even play last season. And I get it. Good route runner, Chip Kelly connection. But in terms of upside, if the Raiders want to find guys that have upside, I just don't know how much upside Kyle Phillips has at this point. Let's go to the running back position. And no, it's not Zamir White. It is Dylan Laube. If the Raiders decide to move on from him after June 1st, you're going to save $960K. The Raiders obviously drafted Ashton Genty. You signed Raheem Mostert. But then the area that I thought maybe Laube could have an opportunity to get some extra snaps this season would be special teams. Tommy Milot, special teamer. Trey Tucker can also give you some of that special teams ability. And hanging on to the football, not turning it over, it's obviously important for all 32 NFL teams, but extremely important this year. Spytek has said it multiple times that really they're going to value the football and they got to take care of the football. Unfortunately for Laube, he's put the ball on the ground a lot. Another guy that's put the ball on the ground a lot is Zamir White. And maybe Zeus is the one that I've talked about probably more than a lot of these other players just in terms of cut candidates. but drafted by an old regime in 2022. He's got 1 year left on his contract. I could legitimately see Zamir White asking to be released. And that would be a surprise to some people, but it's because Genty is phenomenal. And if you know you're Zamir White and you know you're in that final year of your contract, would you not want an actual opportunity to go out there and try to compete to show a future team that you're not the last thing that you saw? Because let's face it, if Ashton Genty, Raheem Mostert, and if Sincere McCormick are healthy, how many opportunities do y'all think Zamir White's actually going to get? With all due respect, I hope the answer is almost zero, you know what I mean? And that's not a knock on Zamir, but I think Zeus also probably knows that in the back of his mind. So then what does that mean? That means the last tape that NFL teams are going to see before he hits the open market are what he did in 2024. And if I was Zamir White, I wouldn't want to be remembered like that because I don't know if you're going to get another contract in the NFL. So because of that, could Zeus ask to be cut? Could the Raiders just do it for him? We'll end up seeing. Again, y'all, I am really excited to be able to announce we are going to do a Raiders Report Fantasy Football League. 12-team league. I will be in it. We're going to be giving away 2 spots in the month of June. Whoever bangs the most this month, you're automatically in. We're also going to be doing a $5 Super Thanks or Super Chat raffle live for Super Chats. VODs, the videos that aren't live, are going to be $5 Super Thanks. I'm also going to do special deals when I am live, whether it's a Madden stream, whether it's a random Tuesday live on the Raiders Report. So always, always, always make sure that you're tuning in. And I've had a bunch of people, asking me, Mitch, what type of fantasy league would you want to do? I don't know if it's going to be standard. I don't know if it's going to be PPR. All I know is this. If you want a chance to enter and you're not watching live, you're going to have to Super Thanks. If you don't know how to do it, you click this button right here if you're on your mobile device. And if you're on your desktop, then you can click those 3 buttons. Drop-down menu, click that Super Thanks button. I've always wanted to do a Raiders Report Fantasy Football League, and this is going to be an opportunity for everybody to try to get in. So hopefully it's not a surprise that you're hearing about it.